Let's talk about Bud Light outrage. I want you to take a look at this video, folks. It doesn't pertain to Bud Light, but it's a video I've been tagged in a lot, and it's the same thing. I want you to, it's all part of this, and you need to stick with me to the end, folks. This is good. Take a look at this clip.
For the past few weeks, I've been helping you know your enemy. And recently, I spoke to you about the Heritage Foundation. An activist group recently managed to infiltrate one of Heritage Foundation's secret conferences and listen to what they had to say.
$24 million investment over the next 2 years. We've already started. We're working with these state legislators to make sure they have all of the information they need to draft the bills. In some cases, we actually draft them for them, or we have a sentinel on our behalf give them the model legislation. So it has that grassroots, from the bottom up type of vibe. Iowa was the first state that we got to work in, and we did it quickly and we did it quietly. Governor Reynolds signed the bill on March 8th. Little fanfare. Honestly, nobody even noticed. My team looked at me and were like, it can't be that easy.
Nobody even noticed that this group is the one working behind the scenes to not only introduce legislation that is hateful and anti-LGBT and anti-BIPOC, but sometimes they draft the bills themselves, and they pride themselves on being able to do it behind the scenes in secret.
We've also hired state lobbyists to make sure that in these targeted states, we're meeting with the right people. I was able to sit down with Governor Kemp 3 days before he signed the election package in Georgia, and I had one message for him. Do not wait to sign that bill. If you wait even an hour, you will look weak.
They spend millions of dollars hiring top attorneys to research and find loopholes to pass these hateful bills. And then they pressure the legislators to pass it.
This is key. It's the bedrock of this entire comprehensive plan. If we didn't have the best legal minds and election law experts around this, we wouldn't be able to give that advice and counsel to state legislators. We wouldn't be able to help them draft their bills. We wouldn't be able to give the ammo to activists to get that echo chamber and wrap around these members. So it's key. It's the foundation.
The foundation of their organization is lobbying the government by financing their campaigns to pass the bills that they write. And they admit that if Democrats were not in the White House, that they would get away with a lot more. Listen to this.
I've honed in on these 8 specific focused states because they are battleground states, they're politically significant, and if maybe 2, maybe 3 of these 8 states went a different way in November, we would be having a different conversation here.
The Heritage Foundation is a white supremacist Christian nationalist organization with a goal of overthrowing the U.S. government. And yet, as they admit here, they are behind a lot of the laws that are being brought forth in our country. This is a hostile takeover by an outside organization that seeks to dismantle the United States. And you need to know your enemy.
So, yeah, she's talking about the Heritage Foundation, and people feel like this is a real gotcha. What this is the Heritage Foundation. This is their portrayal to potential donors. This is a sales pitch. That's why they're portraying themselves as this super secret ninja spy organization. Folks, the Heritage Foundation has been lobbyists for decades. They've been writing legislation for decades. They have. This is not new. We've known this forever. Yeah, I'm glad this video is getting out and people are actually seeing how the right wing works. That's fantastic. But this whole AstroTurf thing, well, yeah, that's all the Republicans have left. That is literally all they are, is an AstroTurf movement. We're going to get to Bud Light, but let's talk about CRT first. I did a video about this. I talked about where all their misinformation about CRT came from. It's from an organization called the Manhattan Institute. And it's called the Manhattan Institute because it's in the middle of Manhattan. It's literally 1 block off of Madison Avenue, the big ad district. There's a reason for that location. It's at 42 Vanderbilt Way. Literally 1 block off of Madison Avenue and all these ad agencies. And it's specifically located there for a reason. They pump this nonsense out. And in their own words, their stated goal is to politicize everything. to politicize everything. And if you don't know what the Manhattan Institute is, Cliff Notes version is, it's an organization founded by our worst CIA director and a British oligarch that believed oligarchy was the best form of government. It's currently run by an oligarch by the name of Paul Singer. He's the chairman over there. They just want to pump out oligarchy. That's what they do. And they're doing it by propaganda. CRT being one of it. All of the misinformation you've heard come out of the right and all the misinformation the right believes about CRT came out of the Manhattan Institute. They wrote it all. Disseminated it out to politicians, and the politicians and their contacts in social media pumped it out to their base. So now their base has no freaking clue. And they said themselves, they were stupid enough, one of their fellows was stupid enough to do an interview. They said it outright. They were very proud of it. They chose CRT for a reason, because you knew nothing about it. Their base knew nothing about it. It was, quote, the perfect villain. They could say anything about it they wanted. And you really got to at least admire their effectiveness. Because I'll be honest with you, I had a conversation with a couple. I went on a cruise to the Bahamas. And I'm sitting there eating breakfast next to a couple having a nice conversation. And then it eventually went from talking about medication and different things, to politics. And I didn't feel like, I'm on a cruise with a bunch of Trumpers, so I didn't feel like the bullshit. So I put out there immediately, look, when it comes to Democrats around here, I'm about the tallest hog at the trough. I am stone cold, hardcore, ride or die Democrat. Just so you know, coming out the gate. They were shocked. They were like, this guy that we're having a great conversation with is a Democrat? Yes, I'm a Democrat. Then they started asking me questions. CRT came up immediately. These folks believed in their heart of hearts CRT existed in all of our kids' schools, and Republicans saved the day and got it out. That's how this AstroTurf propaganda works. They find a subject, moving along to Bud Light, they find a subject that people really don't know anything about. I mean, be honest with you. What do you know about being trans? What do you know about trans people? I mean, as offensive as it is, the average person believes that trans people is just a super gay person that likes to play dress up. It's not. It's a physical state of being. But most people don't have any clue about that, and that's why it's a perfect target for Republicans. I mean, you wonder why all of this anti-trans stuff came out? I mean, really, it just like popped up overnight, just super trans hate. I mean, they've always been hateful towards the LGBTQ community, but it's been on steroids and focused almost specifically at the T in LGBTQIA community. Why? Because it's the perfect villain. You don't know anything about it, really. Their base doesn't know anything about it, but really, they can say anything they want. That's why they say trans people are pedophiles. Trans people are grooming your kids. None of it's true. None of it's true. But their base doesn't know, and they're told to be mad. Perfect example, this Bud Light thing. I challenge you to find a video where somebody's destroying their Bud Light that they have a can with Dylan Mulvaney's face on it. You won't find it. These people never saw these cans. And to be honest with you, had not some AstroTurf group, and we don't know which one was behind the Bud Light thing yet, but some sharp person on the left will find it. So, somebody like an Aaron Rupar, somebody will dig in. They'll find the timestamps on all these releases. They'll find out who was spreading this out. And it's going to be an AstroTurf group that told right-wingers to be outraged. And what is so, I mean, you've just got this group, because every right-winger is mad because we're pushing this in their face. They don't want to see it. They would have never seen a Dylan Mulvaney can. In fact, they would have never known Bud Light was sponsoring Dylan Mulvaney. They wouldn't have. None of those videos would have ever entered their orbit, ever, if a right-wing group had not picked it up and intentionally blasted it into their orbit. And then they became outraged and started blasting it all over the place. So get this. They're outraged that this is in their face when they are the only people putting this in their face. And you know that's true because they're all like, well, I'm drinking Coors Light now. Well, Coors Light had the same exact sponsorship. Why do you think Bud did it? Because they didn't want to seed the LGBTQ market to Coors alone. Yeah. They know nothing about this. But they're outraged. Skeeters are out. But they're outraged. Outraged by their own behavior of putting this all in their face. Kid Rock shooting cans of beer. You know, that's either A, an attempt at relevancy again, or B, somebody paid him to do it. You know, it's just one of those two things. You know, it's the same AstroTurf nonsense. We didn't put that in their face. Hell, most of us didn't even know it happened. Most people didn't even know who Dylan Mulvaney was. On the left, much less the right. And fortunately, nobody took the rope-a-dope. Nobody came rushing to Bud Light's aid and yada, yada, yada. So it's just so painfully obvious that it's in only their orbit because it's only in their orbit. Nobody took the bait. Nobody jumped into a fight that wasn't a fight. Which I have to commend you folks. There aren't pictures of people down in Bud Light and shit like that. You know, I mean, it's just right-wingers being outraged by information put in their face by right-wingers. You gotta love it, folks. That's all Republicans are. They do not govern. I mean, look at the idiocy of the budget proposal they put forward, slashing all spending by 25%. Yeah, right. You want to throw the world into a massive recession and you want to cut law enforcement by 25% across the board? Yeah, no. They cannot govern. They're not an opposition party anymore. All they are is this fake outrage machine. That's it. That's all that's left of a Republican. Trying to do the exact work that KGB, FSB, Putin, and all of them injected into our politics decades ago about dividing America by politicizing everything. And that includes beer, I guess. Love you folks. This is old Texas Paul out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us with the algorithm. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
The best part of waking up? MAGA tears in my cup. Check out the new MAGA tears mug available now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.